Here's a pretty quick and easy way to figure out if your motor has died, aside from, hooking it up directly to a battery here. If you take a look at a new motor, you don't hear anything as it's turning. All right, listen carefully to the dead one. Okay, it's clicking. Where's this one? Nothing. All right. So to gain access to your motor and figure out if it is indeed dead, you first need to take out these two screws here on the shell of the motor. So here they are. Here's 1 and 2. And once you open that, you'll see the guts. Now, this does seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but it's actually pretty simple. It only has basically 2 main components to it, or 3 actually. You've got the transmitter there, which is attached to the board. Okay, so pry that back just a little bit to gain access to your motor, but you don't want to pull that out just yet. What you want to do is you want to lift off the board. Now this is the first time I did it, so you can see in the video I'm a little bit perplexed as to how to approach this, but I quickly realized lift off the board and you gain access to everything else. And now what you gotta do is just gently lift out the motor and release it from the board. Alright, you can see it's pretty straightforward. The hardest part, I think, was pulling off this piece here, so this took a bit of work. And this is where I heard that there was some clicking, and I confirmed that yes, it indeed was broken or dead. And there it is. So I've labeled both the motors. One is an X, which means that one is dead, and the new one is clearly labeled new. So I'm going to replace the spinning gear right after I plug it into the board. So there we go, and now I'm going to fetch the spinning gear. Put that on. There probably is a technical term for that, but I don't know at this point in time. Now, when you're replacing the motor, it does have something like a cradle. It has to fit in a certain way. Now you can see where my thumb is. There's a silver cylinder type thing, right? And there's one at the very front of the motor too. It has to sit in there perfectly. All right, now the hard part is trying to figure out how to manage these cables a bit. So, replacing the board from the button first, then the board sits in place, then you got to move these wires around a little bit. This was a bad idea. There is the good idea. Okay, so make sure the transmitter sits flat on the board, and the wires you can move around afterwards. Now I'm going to do a quick test. I don't have to, assemble this thing and find out later that it doesn't work. So once I plug it in, do a quick simple test, and I see that it is working, and everything's good to go. And I'm going to now begin the tucking away of the wires and the assembling of the casing. So this is the cradle thing I was talking about. It has to fit on that silver piece right there, and it has one in the front and back. So you gotta see if you can get to close first, and what you might realize is you might have to either reposition the wires or kind of move the motor board around a bit, and that's what I'm doing right here. So I'm moving that wire that was in the way, and I'm making sure that the board that is attached to the motor is also out of the way so it can slide into place. It's like a harness almost. And it takes a bit of finessing, but don't push it too hard. You don't want to break that board on there. And do a little more wire managing. Okay, take your time with this. I cannot stress that enough. Nothing worse than waiting for a new board and then breaking it again. And you can see how it's about to fit in there. And there we go. I got to close. I'm going to do one more test to make sure that I didn't screw anything up in the meantime, right after I screw these guys in. And here comes the final test again. Just gonna cycle the power and see if the motor turns. That's it. Not that bad.